All right, folks, game number 1 in a brand new best of 3 here for the TING Open Season 2 Korean qualifiers. We'll explain about the players in a moment in case you missed it earlier, but in the bottom left side, it's going to be the blue Terran from MVP, Forte, formerly known as Salvation. But, like Zombie Grub...
Can I do this? Can I do this? The pressure is on. I'm usually a pressure to do this. Like, oh my god, in the top right on Dusk Towers, it is totally Scarlett. Right?
I feel like that wasn't bad. I'm not even going to criticize it. Like, but I also, it felt like, you know when you're doing like a gay impression, you had that little bit of a lisp? That's kind of felt like the direction I was heading.
For a guy?
Yeah, for a guy.
Yes.
Excuse me. You're like,
oh, for a girl? I've never heard it.
no, for a girl it goes the other direction. Hey, how's it going? But
wow, that's
that's a stereotype, Rifkin. You shouldn't play into this.
Rifkin.
Okay, my bad. But point still goes to this, where like I felt like we were heading that direction, where you were like, if this kept going, you would have just sounded like you were doing an impression of a gay guy after a few moments.
I feel like maybe, but if you told me to do a gay guy, I absolutely couldn't.
Interesting. It's like I can't do Irish, but if I try and do Jamaican, it becomes Irish very quickly. All right, so we got Scarlett playing in the Korean qualifiers, and a lot of you might be like, what? Scarlett's pretty much living in Korea. We don't know for how long, but for at least long enough that while TING is going on, it's more beneficial for her to play here due to latency as well as time zones. So that's also the same case with No Regret, currently living in the MVP house, and he's in the top half of the bracket. And these two, by the way, gave everybody a pretty nice run for their money during the GSL, SSL qualifier stuff. I think it was No Regret got like 1 round away from qualifying even himself. Like, it was surprisingly good performances out of both.
Well, I think they both got 1 round away, but in different ones. Like, No Regret closer in GSL and Scarlett in SSL or something like that.
Well, No Regret also almost won the Scarlett, but didn't quite qualify.
Yeah, exactly. He almost won the Scarlett.
You got so many upvotes in that Reddit thread for that
right?
comment.
I was the best.
But okay, Scarlett does something really greedy, and then 3 hatchery openings so quickly. Now, this isn't unheard of, but also, at the same time, it's Dusk Towers. I do feel, though, Scarlett's got a little bit of the same thing Snoot has going for him right now, though, where if she can get to, like, late game Zerg, she's going to have a fantastic time. Her macro's always been one of her stronger points. Jokes about creep spread, whatever. I really feel like anytime we've cast her, she gets to, like, that 80 drone count. She's never lost.
I
shouldn't say never. That's definitely not true. But I mean, like, it feels that way because like she kicks so much butt when she gets to that phase of the game.
I recall many a games. It's mostly versus Protoss, so this is versus Terran, completely different matchup. But where she gets to 80 drones and then she gets killed.
Well, versus Protoss is a whole nother can of worms. You could have
right.
You could somehow break the supply max, go 300 drones, 100 army supply, and still lose to Immortals at this stage of the game.
Right?
Quote Scarlett, probably.
But versus Terran, I do agree. Like, if she's getting up to 80 drones, there was not enough pressure, like, in a ZvT. Like, the Terran wasn't playing it right, basically. Or he tried to, and it utterly, like, completely failed. So, I mean, it wouldn't be only 80 drones. It'd be 80 drones plus, like, a ton of creep spread, plus, like, all the tech that you would need and whatnot. So, certainly if it gets to that point, and it, you know, the most likely map to get to that point would be Dusk Towers, then that is a little worrying, but... I actually have double Liberator coming out from Forte with double Alien production, something that we are used to. But the double Liberator, I guess it makes sense. It is, once again, bring up the map, Dusk Towers. They have at least a couple of abusive positions. That's actually enough lings, but they don't have speed. But I guess there's actually not that much Forte can do. Not on creep and... Not with the lings at least protecting the mineral line.
No, and there's at least 2 instances there of some move command mistakes. I mean, obviously with Hellings you're not exactly A-moving, but still feeling persistent enough to do this. I mean, the worst part I think about this coming into it is Queen's got about 2 kills before the Lings even really had anything to say about it. And again, with no speed, Scarlett's gearing up for what looks like an all-in now. Saying, you really didn't touch me. I killed enough of your early game. You're not gonna catch me off guard behind it. 1 bust through this wall, and Salvation really has nothing behind us. In fact, going for this 3rd CC is perhaps the worst move you could make in this situation.
Yes, that is true. This is actually something that she did not scout, though. No, not at all. In fact, really not any scouting whatsoever. So she could be really surprised by these Liberators. They didn't stop it, too.
That was so close.
these have speed right now, so they can in fact chase down the Hellions. And with the Hellions just out here in general, it already is going fairly poorly for Forte. But he may be able to deny a bit of mining here. Probably not enough to make up for the baneling bust.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Scarlett initially was planning to go straight up baneling all in like this, but what she did see was an opportunity at the sort of back end of those Hellions failing so bad. So Ling's even soaked the first hits for the Liberators. They're going to try and cover this ramp, but they're not going to cut it. I mean, these glowy, wonderfully disgusting banelings are splitting. Scarlett's going in both mineral lines. SCV's getting pulled on one side. We're going to zoom out so we can try and catch all the action as the natural base. Oh, don't pull into banelings! That's not how you deal with the banelings.
Well, believe it or not, the SB count hasn't grown enough, but I mean, there's nothing to kill all these lings. Like, there you go. Now 34 SCVs. That's definitely game 40, basically.
Yeah.
Come on now, get that 40. Get that 40.
Liberators just really didn't do enough on the other side of the map to make this worthwhile. And Scarlett could just keep flooding in. 2 SCVs remain. I mean, mules are good, and I was complaining about them just yesterday, but that's not going to save you in this instance.
Yeah, with 3CC, I think you need at least 20 SCVs still. I mean, maybe 15, but I don't know, to actually even think about coming back. So with only 1 SCV left, there is no comeback. But I guess he thinks like with Liberators, he could do some serious damage, which, I don't know, if you have 5 Liberators, although one's almost dead, this one's almost dead too, you could leapfrog enough to push into the drone lines, but
I don't think so. Not with one.
Not
all you have to do is like have 1 spore crawler, which she already does have.
I mean, you have 2 spore crawlers, which she's getting.
There you go, even better. I mean, it's just like my point. My point of this is like, there's just no way. Like, if Salvation comes back from this, I've given up, guys. I'm just gonna call him Salvation. I'm sorry. If Forte comes back from this, like, this is gonna be the most epic Terran comeback of all time. But yeah, I don't know that is even an option. She's still killing SCVs. He's
being pretty stubborn, man. Like, he's gonna try and attack the Liberators.
You know what happens.
And if it doesn't work, he has to tap out then. And if he doesn't tap out, then he's just salty.
No, you know what happened, right? Like, so it's the MVP house. Marine King recently retired. He's probably sitting there rubbing Forte's shoulders right now, saying, "No, you got this. You can do this.
You got this." But they do not got this. Kill Overlords, yeah, I guess that'll help a little bit. He's not even really counter-attacking. It is just about harassment. Okay, well, the Spire should be the end of everything. I mean, I guess the Ravagers could be as well, so like either one, just getting both.
I like the Spire a lot better.
It's like it's not even necessarily that much safer. Like, Ravagers would deal with it too. But
well, no,
either one.
Ravagers could potentially get held up on the other side of the map. If you go straight into mutas, there's nothing. Like, or even not even mutas. With how many Liberators there are, go Corruptors. Just straight go like 4 Corruptors, kill everything and pee on the buildings. I mean.
Yep. Well, she doesn't have that much gas.
I will give credit to Forte though. I mean, like, he's making this look possible. Like, with each second that goes by, he's denied mining significantly. He's got his SCV count back up to 20. There's no part of me that thinks he's gonna win this game. But it is looking like there's an option where, like, if Scarlett makes too many mistakes.
The fact that she never got her gases is actually really screwing her over right now. She thought that the game was going to be over, so I don't think she was really macroing behind everything.
No.
So she can only afford 1 Corruptor at a time, despite having almost 2,000 minerals.
That's hilarious. Of course, this is still a bit of a problem. I don't know why the Spore Crawlers reposition themselves. I know one moved because of the Liberators to the south, but this other one could have easily taken care of this without the Corruptor. But Natural Base now no longer mining, not a big deal. Salvation up to 30 workers, and we're kind of in this position where, wow. I'm actually going to cheer against Scarlett. I would normally 10 times out of 10 cheer for Scarlett. I just want this like crazy comeback, because you know why? Put this VOD on YouTube. Get the views, make that money. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Tens of cents.
If she loses this, because I really would blame her, there has to be something like a severe like either punishment or gift for Forte. Like, should we buy Forte like a gift basket, send it to his house? Like, congratulations on winning.
Have a can of hot 6 on us.
Yeah, exactly. Hot 6. They make them big now too.
Actually, so here's the real question, right? Because I don't really know how hot 6 works. I'm assuming it's just basically Korean Red Bull for a second, but
it is, yeah.
The question is, what happens? Do you give Forte that for winning, or do you give it to Scarlett because she needs it more?
No, you give it. No, she doesn't get anything. She gets nothing. Give it to the winner.
Water stale bread. Okay.
Yeah,
double
they have water and crackers.
I like the double expanding to try and make up for this. Shouts to Dr. Awesome, by the way, a huge resub, 32 months. And I'm sorry, we've not been great with shouting out resubs, guys. We're still getting back into the swing of casting. But damn, this is, for Scarlett, I think, like, if she had the drone count for this, I would really love this double expand move. But right now, all it does is create more openings for Forte to actually cause damage. Again,
Yeah.
3 bases, 46 workers, huge Liberator count at the front of his base. I'm actually getting worried for Scarlett in a non-joking manner.
It's not a point where I think we have to be worried yet, but it is a point where it's so dumb. Like losing a base at all at this point. Like, oh god. But you know, he did finish stim, and he even finished combat shields. He's trying to get to 2-2 actually, because he also finished 1-1. He's actually ahead in upgrades. Oh god.
So what does, I mean, for Scarlett's thoughts going forward, I love the carapace on the air upgrades, thinking, okay, Corruptors can be the way to go about this. But right now, these drops are proven to be a huge problem. Corruptors going to take out the medevacs, that'll make the Marines a lot more manageable on the ground, of course, but this is still a rough situation where Roaches and Ravagers are not very, they're not very techy units here. There's something that are going to scrap well in these low situations, but she can't play the rest of the game with just Roach and Corruptor.
Yeah. She's losing a lot of drones.
Yeah. Liberator stuck out a lot because, of course, Forte did hit several bases at once. This base down here is going to go down. Like I said, like this is an opening she created for herself by expanding like this. She's actually going to save that hatchery, though. That's kind of cool to see. Finally, something going Scarlett's way. But, man, I love the idea of trying to get to... Like, we saw the Infestation pick him down. I thought this was going to be for Hive. There we go. I guess just a little bit bothered by all of the action going on. Because Ultras in this situation... For better or for worse, wouldn't be too bad of an option to see. I don't know if she's thinking about Broodlords maybe as the alternative because of her already large Corruptor count, but
Yeah.
either way, these Liberators are going to pose a problem one way or the other.
It's so silly, but if we disregard the fact that Forte at one time was at 1 SCV, and we just look at it like right now, I would actually see it being like, okay, I would actually understand Scarlett feeling safer going for a Hive. Like, if you push in with Roaches and Liberators are all sieged up like they were, then you could lose your army. And she was having a bit of trouble actually getting army units because she spent so much money on those Corruptors that only held for a short period of time. Like, her Roach army was never that big. It's not even well upgraded. She would have attacked into even upgrades and Liberator fields, and that just would not have probably been... It might not have been worth it. It might have put her even behind. So the Hive is the safer way to go, which just sounds so dumb because this game.
I didn't realize, I guess one of those drops had actually picked off the Bailiness too. I was curious on her remaking that, but we do have a hell of a lot of links coming out. We got Adrenal Gland started up. There's that Ultras Cavern I think we're all expecting to see. And with the Corruptors taking out what little Liberators there are, I'm starting to feel like once we get Ultras in play, Forte's dead. I mean, I don't want to call it too soon, but he just really doesn't have the appropriate anti-Ultralisk units.
We're past calling it too soon.
Oh, I know. 1 SCV was like when we called it. Sorry, I guess I have forgotten, as you said, like if you look at this game objectively. But
oh Jesus,
Scarlett, I imagine is gonna make a ton of banlings, and it's not gonna be some like, okay, harass here, trade there. Like, she's going for that big push to win this game.
Forte really shouldn't be pushing out, I feel. Like, okay, clear up creep and then, like, you know, like, fake pressure, but don't actually go on a creep. One, there's too much. You're just going to be overwhelmed. And then two, you're not maxed out. And I feel like maxed out is where you're going to potentially win, or the defensive fight on a planetary.
You know what's cool, though? This is probably the best location he can take a fight right now, on top of this cliff. So, Liberators are still not going to do anything between the Corrosive Biles as well as the Corruptors, just a little too much. But this position for the Marines, this position for the tanks, I mean... This is a great spot to bait a fight, but, I mean, that's all you can do, bait a fight. There's not a lot of denying of mining, because Scarlett did, of course, take this base back. Drop in the main, going to be dealt with immediately. Immediately? No? Okay, whatever. It's gonna be dealt with. There we go.
Well, this base might just straight up be killed. I mean, I didn't think
she didn't lose the Bailey Nest. I'm crazy. Okay, I don't know why she built another one right next to her other one. By the way, this reminds me of... I remember there was a game back on, like, Belcher Vestige where she was trying to build an Ultras Cavern and built 3 Infestation Pits instead.
I remember that.
That's kind of what those are the vibes I'm getting right now with that that double Bailey Nest. But you know, why not? You got backup Bailey Nest. That way, if it does get sniped, you still got another one. And it'll be protected by the Broodlings from the first one. Even
I
better.
Everything. If this is a comeback game, we get so many views. This is the one that I did my accent. Oh, Jesus.
Okay, well, I don't know about comeback game at this
No,
point. Again,
oh my
Scarlett,
God. I believe, like, I believe in the power of
if-
derping ultras and roaches and ravagers.
right, but if she goes now, like, even with just one ultra, if she goes now, there's nothing to deal with this. I mean, the two Liberators are a joke. Moving towards Ghost for Forte, he's got the bank for it, but does he have the time to produce? Scarlett actually has a very maxed out, very good looking army. Well, it was maxed out, then Widowmine's it, but still, a very large army still nonetheless.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you're right though. She has to attack like right now. Ghost are on the way. 3/3 is on the way.
Ooh,
Sag defense to help out against the corruptors. Like,
I really like the missile
she
turrets.
can't break this willy-nilly. And I mean, I don't even know if she can. She's missing this window. She's looking for a 5th base, I guess.
So I mean, this wasn't the main floated over. This is an actual planetary. I love the missile turrets because they create weird SimCity where the Ultras can derp through this, will derp through this. And, man, 3/3 finishes up for Forte right now. Again, Scarlett may have missed a window of opportunity. Doesn't mean she hasn't, like, she's lost out on winning the game. That's a lot of Banelings coming in. Ultras are still darn hard to kill. But, Liberators, tanks, now Ghosts. If Forte plays his cards exactly perfectly, he could deal with the Ultras. The question is, can he deal with everything else in play now?
Dude, I don't know about pushing in.
No, this is going to go poorly. She didn't deal with the Liberators at all. The
Jesus.
Corruptors are so late. They're shooting medevacs on the front lines instead, but still, that
guess
planetary
it could go
should
poorly.
hold.
Yeah, that's the trick though, isn't it? So everything on the air finally went down, but it took forever, and that was one of the major problems. That's why so much of our army died. But that is a lot of units that are very important. And it also helped that 3/3 finish, but it wasn't that bad. She killed the Liberators and all the medevacs.
Well, I want to praise that, but it was like 3 Liberators. It was like 2 medevacs.
I know,
Like,
I know. Well, the Corruptors took forever. You know, they weren't targeting the Liberators, which probably should have been their job. They were actually focusing on those medevacs for some time. So it was definitely a mistake. Like, it could have gone better, but it was also a very solidified position by a Terran who was prepping for defense.
Agreed. And that was going to be a tough spot to break no matter how you went about it. How you get a Swarm Host and it would still look pretty nasty, but the question now is what's Scarlett going for, and I really like this Greater Spire, because we all know at this point, Forte's not looking to drop. He doesn't even have the supply to really split off and use these Liberators too liberally. So I really like the idea of this Greater Spire. I think Broodlords are going to do fantastic, especially chill up here on the high ground. There's not really a lot of Vikings. Ghosts are going to be a problem still, maybe, but...
Oh my god.
Oh, losing an infested middle map like that, that's going to hurt.
Her Vipers are following a Liberator too. Okay, finally they pull back.
See, I don't know about the Viper choice here. Like, she is probably better off with Abducts than Corrosive Biles per se, but what is she going to abduct into?
That awkward.
Well, okay, here, that's what you can abduct into. What the fuck? That works out perfectly. I don't understand, but okay, whatever.
It's gonna die. She just made 22 more drones. I guess she made maybe some static defense, but still 84 drones is quite a lot. I think after not being able to break Forte, she's recognized the situation is no longer like I am winning, and is more like, oh crap, like this is a turtle Terran that you can actually have a lot of difficulty with.
I don't like this. She's gonna be on 8 Vipers.
That's too much. That's too many. Why would you make 6 Vipers?
I really think she thought there was gonna be more Viper or more air parasitic bombs, maybe. Because I mean, blinding clouds are cool, but you're just gonna have to bio constantly stim out of them. So I'm not sure. Maybe she just wants to abduct every single unit. This is like Scarlett's version of like actual BM with strategy. Hell if I know. We're gonna find out. But
She's not in position to BM anymore.
No, that's for certain. But what's interesting though is, I mean, really, you consider what Forte has, and abducts are gonna take off. You know, the tank, the Liberators. Once that's done, what's left? The bio to deal with Ultras. Proven time in and time out. That's not the way to do it. So I mean, abducts are not terrible. I'm not even gonna pretend like this is a bad choice. But they'll also, I guess, with no corruptors, will be the anti-air. So she is making Broodlords.
She's still getting a couple more corruptors.
She's
supply blocked at 198.
I just really don't like that she's chosen to kind of let the infestors go, because the ghosts are still the biggest threat here. Like, for those who don't know why this is a big deal, maybe you don't understand the late game TVZ mechanics, or maybe you just don't play this race because you're Protoss. Point of it being, like, if you fungal growth a ghost, it can never snipe while fungal's on it. It will constantly interrupt it. It'll waste the energy. It won't be able to do that thing that basically kills Broodlords and Ultralists. So that's where I get a little bit worried for this situation. And of course, Snipe's not affected by Blinding Cloud at all.
Right. I agree.
What's it called? It's got some dumb enhanced targeting or
I don't
something.
know, but there are infestors finally on the way again, and they do have patch and glance. So she's rounding out her army to be as perfect as
EMP.
well.
Oh,
Forte,
just EMP, the Vipers. There we go. Ghosts get abducted. You don't see that every day.
but it really is like, okay, like, look, having 4 to 6 Vipers is fine, but 8 just seems a little, like, way too much.
Oh,
and
I agree. 100% agree.
if they do get AMP, like, they just they really are useless.
But see, not only does that take away a large portion of Scarlett's gas, it also takes away a large portion of her army supply. And right now, this is where, as she gets more expanding on the map, she gets spread thinner. You know, Marauder drop up here, Marine drop down here. It's not killing her yet, but we saw just how difficult this was to clean up.
Yeah. She needs to, I guess, get more static defense, first of all, because
Well, here we go. So.
Yeah, finally. Well, the other base needs it, but the situation has really gotten quite poor. I mean, this is a situation where you start seeing, you know, the Terran get extra command centers, and they start just like taking very good defensive fights, where you really get worried the Zerg is going to somehow screw this up, and not because they're bad necessarily. I think Scarlett is now definitely taking this seriously, but because an entrenched Terran position is really hard to break, and they're going to be better at these long, drawn-out, half-half map situations, because they can drop you so much better, unless Scarlett starts dropping.
So Forte just split getting scared of this, perhaps not realizing, like, oh, there's no actual anti-air, like, I'm getting abducted into one corruptor. You can actually unload the Marines and tell
So dumb. It's so dumb.
This is pretty dumb, too. I'm not sure what's going on. Some derpiness as she was heading towards that Liberator. Gonna shut down some mining, but at this stage of the game, I don't know how big of a deal mining losses are. Oh, those Vipers, those very expensive Vipers getting picked off by these Marines. 3 go down. Nice pickoffs out of Forte.
Well, I like 5 more. Why is she getting 5 more?
Because you know what? She's probably got the cast in the background. It's like, you know what, Zombie Grub? You're so stupid.
Fuck you. I'm gonna show you the Vipers work.
Yeah.
Hella good.
Actually,
I don't know.
I love this ghost count, though. This is getting insane out of Forte. We saw a long time ago, it was like, what, True versus Beyond? Beyond just went mass ghosts, and it was like a joke watching that game win. But Scarlett's finally got back into the Infestors, and I think it's really important to note she did this, because there really is nothing to deal with those ghosts, aside from either abducting every single one of them or getting a single fungal growth off.
I really hope Forte remembers EMPs, though. Like, he remembered for the Vipers, but so often we see them forget versus the Infestors. If you have, like, 16 ghosts, I really hope that one's gonna get an EMP off. And if those EMPs do go off, then her army is not so good.
Ooh, that is a great fungal out of Scarlett, keeping the Vikings above the Spore Crawlers.
Fungal Blinding Cloud, no matter what the army composition is going to be very good.
Yeah, I am worried about him keeping all of his ghosts clumped up, though. I mean, they don't have stealth.
I am
there we go. Get caught by the Broodlords. Diving in for an EMP, though, hits most of the Vipers and all of the Infestors. So losing 3 ghosts for that EMP may have just been worth it.
But he's not actually taking the engagement after that, so that is just, you know, him losing money and gas and her losing energy.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I can't think of what's going through his mind right now. Scarlett's got this massively awesome bank.
Oh, EMP! Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, gets the EMP before dying. Gets 2 EMPs before dying. Scarlett's got this really awesome bank, though, going for her. Look at that. 4,700 minerals, 1,600 gas. Like, this army of hers is not a great army, but as we see, it's not dying easily. And what little she loses, she can very easily replace.
As funny as it is to see more Vipers than, say, more Infestors, it is an energy-based army. You know, even a couple of Queens in here as well for transfuses. And energy-based armies are exactly what you want. I just would have thought you would have depended more on Fungals than Vipers. Here we go.
The Liberator's going to come and try and get some splash damage. I would actually really like to see more Liberators out of Forte. I think a massive Liberator army, despite the Vipers, could work, only because he has been nailing it on all these EMPs. Like, the reason you can't go Mass Sky Tier, and we saw last season Ting, round of 8, Ryung versus Snoot. We all remember that game. It's on, like, SC2HL2, where, like, Ryung loses, like, 100 supply in 0 seconds flat thanks to Parasitic Bomb. But if you've got EMPs nullifying Scarlett's ability to cast Parasitic Bomb, boom, Forte's in action with this Mass Liberator army, and he is producing 4 at a time while going for a nuke behind this.
Yes, that's, oh my god, I was laughing at that, but also that game was so silly. Like, the nuke plus all of the accessory upgrades to the engineering bay looks so silly, but Forte's actually taking this engagement. He wanted to get rid of the Spore Crawlers, but instead finds himself with Blind Clouds.
I like this Blind Clouds.
The Vipers.
The Blind Clouds actually work out pretty decently here, but
no Fungals.
Well, there's also no way to... both players actually had a bit of an awkward standstill because Scarlett does finally break Forte's positioning, but Forte... What I'm worried about now is he's trying to still expand. He doesn't have a lot of money. It's hard to replace these units he's losing. And I mean, as admirable and cool and like high five worthy as it is that this guy brought the game back from like 0 SCVs, and here we are 25 minutes later, it's still a situation that looks bleak for him.
Oh,
And a
yeah.
lot of this is just like looking at Scarlett's bank. I'm astounded that this many Vipers is working, but it is.
Well, okay, so the thing is that it's not that many Vipers, right? You could have done the same thing with 5 Vipers. So that's just, I want to throw that out there because
I'm not pretending
getting
like this is the new
10.
meta. Don't do this, folks. Like if you're amateur Zerg player ladder, don't do what she's doing. But it's working at the end of the day. Like it is.
But I also want to like say Forte, that push out was very bad just in general. Like I don't think he was quite maxed out first of all, so that was a problem. And then second of all, he was up against his back against a wall, like a literal rock wall, or going up like a ramp he couldn't go up. So you know that was also his bad a lot.
These ducks are so silly.
If he wanted to break this area, then it was not going to be by sending his entire army in and getting fungal and blind and clouded. It would have been like with nukes, for instance, which he did get but is not using,
Actually,
or circumventing it entirely.
it's funny you bring that up because there is no tactical advantage for taking control of the middle of the map right now for him, because he wouldn't have been able to put down 2 planetaries. He wouldn't have cleaned up all the creep anyways. But it's this point now where I don't think it's going to have like. All Terran in Legacy of the Void have gotten used to playing more A-movie, more death bally, less about these drops. Now that we see Forte going back into drops, he's getting a bit of damage done. He's being thwarted at every turn, but he's getting damage done. I think if he tries to death ball through the middle of the map, it's going to be a loss for him every single time. So at least he's taking options now that have a possibility to work for him.
There we go. Okay, so nukes in the middle of the map, but I absolutely agree. Like if he just had that same army, and he's getting up
Does she
to
not have an
once again-
Overseer?
No, she doesn't.
She
She used to, but I guess she lost him.
Okay, she has
Oh,
2
there they are.
Overseers, but they're like way off in the middle of the no. So Snoop.
But anyways, like if he had just started mass dropping, right? Like he would probably lose the Medivacs because Corruptors and Vipers are out, but then he might also have caused her to like in a rage, as we all so often see.
Both players gotta be careful of AoE. Look at the splash damage on both sides of this, though. All the Vipers pretty much go down. He's going to back away. Can repair these Liberators. Hopefully will repair these Liberators, question mark. The Corruptors are hot on their heels.
Oh, he has more though. But anyways, like she might have made a mistake and actually pushed into a solidified position, but now she's never gonna make that mistake if she's not pressured by drops.
Right.
Like why just the bottom too? Like send 2 Medivacs to the top. I guess because there's a bit of a spore crawler wall, but like sniping the hive, sniping all the tech structures could be very annoying.
So you mentioned the energy-based army before, and while it's not as easy to use them anymore, a Raven I think wouldn't be too bad in this situation. Not because of point defense drones or even auto turrets, just like as weird as it is, bring back the old school Seeker missiles.
Yeah.
Plus, actually, for those who don't know, Seeker Missile has an upgrade that lets it do even more damage now in Legacy of the Void. So, like, if you were carpet bombing, if you were, I take it back. If you're scared of the spore crawlers, point defense drone and unload your drop. Like,
Yeah, well, there's those spore crawlers. Like, there's actually not a wall. Like, if he just would stop going behind and just went like a little to the 4th base too.
So,
he would
okay,
be
here's where Scarlett's going to bring back a decent portion of our army. If you want to pounce with what else he had in the middle, might have been a bad opportunity, but he's not taking advantage of it. This is Medevac. Oh, please. It's got, like, no health, man. What do you think you're doing? Who do you think you're fooling? This one Corrupt is going to kill it.
Almost. Okay.
Yeah, it might kill. Nah, it's like a full Ravager for it. That ghost count's growing up once again. We got a decent air count with this. Again, like, the biggest scary thing for this air army are those parasitic bombs. If he can dive in and get these EMPs, there we go. Goes for it. Now he can push with the Liberators. Problem is, there's still stuff on the ground, but that being said, the Liberator's going to come in. They've got some splash damage.
There's actually nothing left. That last EMP, I think, got all of the fungals and all of the Vipers.
There's like one parasitic bomb in this. Like one single parasitic bomb.
But you know what? The ghosts, are they actually killing the Ultras? They are killing the Ultras.
And now they're going to be able to snipe what little's left on the ground. Liberators are going to go down, but he's broken the ground army. However, Scarlett, let's not forget, had a lot of money behind this. But one of the important things that Salvation did, he sniped the spawning pool. So she can't spam lings right now.
No, she did remake that. It just finished. So
just
46 things are all on the way. And regardless, the Broodlords, there's no more snipes left over for the Broodlords. So
that's very true,
they actually came in and they started killing everything that was on the ground. Forte had one opportunity to start killing the air that couldn't attack the ground, and the Broodlords messed that up.
Man, what a game. What a crazy game we've ended up with here. But
this was such good EMPs, though. Like, he really could not have asked for a better situation. I guess,
absolutely.
I mean, besides, like, I guess having more Vikings, like, that would have been the better situation, or more Marines, but...
So it's occurring to me, by the way, we may want to message Olivia and tell her not to hold 2 round of 8 matches at this rate.
Okay.
If you went down, we'll just do the one.
Don't hold round of 8.
We'll still cast both of the qualifying matches, but yeah. Assuming game 2 is not too much different than this, because this is still game 1 in a best of 3. Let's not forget about that fact. I can't. It's for me, like, if you've tuned in recently, you missed the start of this game where Scarlett went for this big bailing all in. She literally got Forte down to, like, I think 0 SCVs at a point, or just 1. Either way, like, it's fantastic to see that the game recovered off this. But with the sport crawlers down, cloaking to move forward's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
I am worried though, because Forte has pretty much mined out his map. He's got 2 base economy right now. He'll be dropping mules like crazy on these last few bases. Scarlett's still mining. She's got this base that almost hasn't been touched because of the amount of, like, Liberator denial down here, so she still has a whole base to work with.
Oh yeah, she's doing much better, and in fact, she's taking the top base as well. Something that, you know, that was like Forte's last chance at a fully mining base.
Oh, that blinding cloud.
She's feeling, I guess, good enough with a big enough bank to actually push into planetaries. That is a little bit dangerous, but it looks like it is going to work out. The army was just too out of position. She might lose her Ultralisk for it, though. Any snipes going down? No, not so
no
much.
energy, really. And the new ghost coming in a little bit too late. Looking to push forward, though, like, those Liberators took a Parasitic Bomb. Now, you can take 1 Parasitic Bomb, not a problem. You can actually take, I think, 2 even at full health, but really needs to repair up these Liberators. They are, at this point of the game, like, I know we often talk about, like, do you repair these units or not? You don't have the money to build new ones. You have to repair. It's not even, like, a question at this point.
Yeah. I agree. Of course, so that scan will alert Scarlett to, like, the intention of dropping, or at least focusing on the top half of the map. And I feel like this is, if he would just, you know, take a drop wherever he wasn't intending on moving his army, then that might be the way to go here, because she's now focused mostly on the top position.
Oh, does Scarlett notice this? With that distraction on this new base, is she looking in the middle of the map? That's 5 Broodlords sitting right in the middle of a giant nuke zombie group coming down to break this position. It's gonna hit Spores. It's gonna hit the Broodlords.
Oh my god.
Now, of course, that's still not the end of the game, because Scarlett's got a fucking huge bank behind it, but damn, that was a nice nuke out of Forte, something he definitely needed.
He gets EMPs, though, on all of the spellcasters. Wait, where are the spellcasters, besides the queens?
Up to the north. And there's not even that much energy. They didn't actually consume between battles.
Well, the Ultras already got through the Liberator zone, so actually everything's dying regardless of the spellcasters being here, but all the spellcasters just died to the Liberators that were unsieged. Well, so much for the Vipers, but not necessary. The ground army went down. Forte doesn't have time to rebuild, despite having a little bit of a bank here. He just didn't take care of the Ultras.
Realizing that these ghosts keep dying to detection, finally takes out the Overseers a little bit too late, but yeah. I think a couple Liberators might be able to deal with the Ultras, but there's no way to deal with all the Corruptors and the Ultras and the Broodlords all simultaneously.
Finally.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you Baneling bust a Terran. Fantastic. Game number 1. What's map 2, Zombie Grove? I gotta load up the intro for it. We are actually, by the way, guys, we're definitely gonna take a small break here. Just 2 minutes, nothing longer. We'll be back soon, and we'll see you guys in a second for game 2 of Salvation versus, or excuse me, Forte versus Scarlett when we get back. All right, game number 2 in this best of 3 kicking off for the TING Open Season 2 Korean qualifiers. And despite being the resident Korean, he is down 1 point currently. In the bottom right side of Frozen Temple, it's going to be the blue Terran Forte, aka Salvation.
In the top left as the pink Zerg, it is Scarlett. I'm just tired now.
You just hit that first, you're just exhausted. Watching a friend, an idol, and a player just like wriggle through a 30-minute game. So I actually want to address something that's brought up on the Team Liquid thread that I guess we've kind of jumped really quickly into the TING qualifiers upon getting back from Austin, and tours just finished all this. And a lot of people are asking what's up with the amount of invites, qualifying spots this season. We're doing a lot more invites this season, guys. We're gonna do a lot of it based on performance and all this good stuff. But last season, for the majority of what was almost no invites, we had a really, really crazily skewed, super Zerg heavy tournament that we're trying to avoid having again. And that's not because I want to artificially place a lot of people in or out. Qualifiers are still going to come first, and we've contacted 0 people except for the previous 4 from last season about playing. So it is a situation where once we're done with these qualifiers, is it going to look like we've got 30 Zerg, 1 Terran, 1 Protoss? No, because we'll be doing a lot of invites to make up for it. So I saw someone comment on the Team Liquid thread between games, and I just want to make sure everyone's aware that we're looking to racially distribute things a little more evenly this season. Make for some better games.
About the math?
Well, because the math on what this is, because if you remember last season, it was top 2, bottom 2 from each qualifier. We're only doing 2 for each qualifier, but the same amount of qualifiers. The math checks out. That
12
it would be
people
less.
from qualifiers, right? And then 8 invites.
Yeah.
Which is 20 people. And then 4 is 24.
No, the point of it being like we have a lot more invites is what I'm trying to say. Like people might not understand.
So there's more than 8 invite spots.
Yeah.
Oh, you put 8 invite spots, so.
Oh, then I probably wrote it wrong on the Team Liquid thread. I was reading the Team Liquid thread, the map test one, and as well as the one we haven't announced yet. So
well, then that
may
was
be
a
my
mistake
bad
then.
on that. But
Right.
I just publicly here so people are conveyed with information properly. Like, yeah, we're going to be doing it a bit differently because last season was insane. I still, like, if you go look up the Wikipedia page for it, like, it was so Zerg heavy. We had 2 Protoss, Zombie Grub. 2 Protoss!
Oh, no, I definitely agree with the reasoning. I just, he's right, the math did not up, so. Well, now that we're all figured out, no, it's all good, it's fine. We can talk about the game, which we do have a couple of things on the way, but I don't see a Baneling Nest, so it's not going to be like last game.
No, yet at least asterisk. I mean, a lot of what happened last game, though, I feel like for Scarlett, I have no idea whether she intended to do the Baneling Nest from the get-go or not, but what we did see was like a good reaction to a failed and an like utterly failed Hellion attack. So whether it was intended, whether it was just simply responsive, either way, I mean, she saw that there was some susceptibility to that damage, but I don't think she's going to do much here. 4 Hellions in a second on a ramp. This should be fairly easy for Forte to hold.
Yes, yeah, of course. So what has to happen here is a scouts on the armory, as Forte has no problem with the lings at all. He would have a problem with roaches though, and actually Scarlett throws down a roach warren without scouting the armory. Just seeing the Hellions. I mean, honestly, sometimes it is a case where if the Terran goes Hellions, all of a sudden it's almost like a tell they're going for an armory. But Forte did go for Hellions last game, so I think this is just. There was a plan to make roaches and play roaches regardless. Now, will they come out in time, though? Like, that roach one's still not done.
Question. Yeah.
So this could actually... Because if they're going to come out, like, 1 or 2 from each location, that's a lot of time for the Hellbat to do some damage.
I mean, we've also seen people hold against Hellbats by getting atop of that medevac early. If she can pick off that medevac, the Lings can actually eventually whittle this down. But the medevac ends up being the biggest problem. There's only 3 queens, so how do these get used? She's going to try and just run around this, which is interesting. Meanwhile, back at home, she is going to just be cutting back, waiting for those roaches. 9 on the way, should actually be able to deal with this. Catches the drones that ran, though.
Jesus.
Uh-oh.
They can't go through the ramp.
No.
Yeah, they gotta go somewhere else. Roaches do spawn to help out, and it looks like not too many drones are gonna go down. A couple of queens went down too, so not the worst Hellbat push, but not super great.
So what's interesting is if Forte picks off more queens here with what's left, the Banshee follow-up to this ends up being really, really strong. But Scarlett's attempt to counterattack, it's a couple of SCVs, picks off some more Hellions. Ultimately, though, those Lings didn't get a lot done, but they got more done than if they had stayed at home, I guess. So ultimately, not a bad decision. But here comes the Banshees. There's a Spore Crawler on the way, but only 1. And there is no cloak, so it's just the Banshee. But if Scarlett keeps defending, Forte is going to be in this position where he's investing a lot to not do enough damage.
Well, the Banshees shouldn't really be used too offensively, especially without Cloak. Even with Cloak, you have to be very careful not to lose them, as they are your anti-roach unit right now. The Liberator would only hold for so long, and would probably be the better choice at actually harassing. This medevac is still doing a bit of damage. I mean, now I think it's a total of 6 workers killed. I mean, still not great for the Hellbat push, but it's something. 7 with his Banshee, but don't lose the Banshee. Not that Scarlett has that much of a roach force to counterattack with. Only 9 roaches is not a lot, but you don't ever want to give them the opportunity as you're trying to get more units. Your production's not really looking too hot right now. Still only on 111 and building a command center. Finally throws down a couple more. Whoa, starports. I wondered about it, right? Because by getting that Banshee and the Liberator, you didn't stim for a very long time, but I was like, okay, maybe mech.
Okay,
but no, it's air mech.
So there has been a style of trying to go straight to this, and in doing so, usually you leave yourself vulnerable to roach attacks, to bailing all in, so whatever. So I like that he does this behind getting aggressive. Oh, he's going to get some nice drone kills here. Maybe? No, I take that back. But this style does work. Well, we saw Scarlett absolutely shut down air last game with what was too many Vipers and this hilarious game that went on way too long. She's not going to have those same tools available to her this time around. And Forte is still going to have, like, whether it's massive amounts of Liberators. I actually really like the Banshees paired up with this because we've talked constantly about how Ravagers are way too good at dealing with Liberators. You don't get anything done with them, but the Banshees are mobile enough to dance around Ravagers.
Mobile. Yeah. I mean, they're fast enough to dance around everything, including Overseers, which is usually the biggest problem. So cool. But not going into the Banshee speed. Although I mean, it seems to be like the way that we've seen this played, like by Gumiho, like for instance, was you'd go for the Banshee speed, harass with Banshees, get Cloak, of course, as well, and then eventually go into Liberators and like a mass air army, basically. But actually, just kind of going into Liberators a little bit quicker. He's already started them.
I love this Hellion drop wrapped around the side. Like Forte really turned this up to 10 after like that last game. That was his warm-up game. 30 minutes to practice versus Zerg, and there you have it. But these Hellions going to run in. That Liberator's still being annoying. It will finally get picked off, but drones are certainly dying still for Scarlett. And every time she's got to build another drone, that's one less Roach, that's one less Ravager in the army. Her army supply is down to 32. I mean, it's completely feasible for what she has right now, but what's coming in at like 5 minutes through this mass air army, she's not gonna have the money or the army size to deal with it.
So luckily she did get a scout on it, because one of the worst things that can happen is you literally don't scout it. You assume they're going for either regular mech or even bio if you really have not been scouting for a very long time. But even with scouting, she's lost almost 30 drones, and it's over a period of time too, which almost makes it worse. Like having to deal with Forte's Hellbat drops, Hellion run-bys, the Banshee, any amount of Liberators, has not only, like, directly killed drones, but it's really messed up her, like, her flow here, basically.
Oh, the main goes down, too.
And he's killing even more drones. This is really good harassment, and he's going to follow up with a push as opposed to staying defensive, realizing there's an opportunity, I suppose. There's nothing to actually kill the air except Ravagers.
There's so many Banshees, the Spore Crawler doesn't matter. Now, of course, Corrosive Bowels are going to be scary, certainly, but that's so many Banshees. That's 5 Banshees, Omicron.
The Hellbat push really didn't do that much damage, but all of the follow-up, man, like,
GG!
It took a toll.
Oh, I love seeing disgusting builds like that, especially like in response to the way game 1 went. But this is gonna go to an ace match. So game number 3. What map do we have for that? Because I gotta go cue that.
Endion.
Ruins of Endion, excellent. That'll actually be that's a really interesting final map to have. More comments as we get into it, but I guess we have some players who are watching the stream and heard me talk about invites just now, and I'll message everyone back on Skype once we're done with the cast. But if you are watching, the only 4 players that have invites right now are Rogue, Mana, Snoots, and Masa, because they're the ones who won each of their regions for Wildcard Europe, North America, and Korea. Nobody else has invites right now. So should you play qualifiers? The answer is yes. 3 different people asked me if they need to bother playing qualifiers. No, like there's no guarantee I invite you, even if you're my best friend. So like, please play the qualifiers, guys. It's the only way to guarantee that you actually get in. After that, you're really rolling the dice.
Ready?
I am ready.
Thank you.
Aw, your mom's favoriting the cat tweet I made earlier.
She's bored at work.
Probably. All right, Ruins of Endion. We'll see you guys in a moment. So, interesting updates to the brackets to report as we get into game number 3. First off, the other semifinal or the other round of 8 match on the lower side is still taking about just as long as this one. So, Keen and Sulky are still playing, but No Regrets sadly was knocked out by the looks of it. So one of our foreign hopes gone. Of course, there's another qualifier you can play in, but Billowy also advanced on the other side of this. So the winner of this will play Protoss. And Billowy is a pretty scary Protoss to have to fight. A lot of you may not know that name, but we'll talk about it once we get to it. Regardless, it's tied up 1-1 here for the TING Open Season 2 Korean qualifiers. And in the bottom left, he's blue, he's Terran, it's Forte.
In the bottom right, it's the pink Zerg, Scarlett.
So what is interesting and worth noting is, for those who didn't see on the map pool, we have exchanged out Coral Carnage Knockout with King Sejong, since that's a potential ladder change coming, and also we know many of the Koreans already play on that map anyways. I'm really curious if we'll see that at all today, though, because it is still like the not ladder map. It's the one that might not actually be preferable for people, or maybe because I was looking at it, like there's some nasty Liberator spots on that map. Zerg might just always veto it all the time, always.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of sucks that there are a couple of units in StarCraft 2 that really have stopped the, I guess not the progress of map making, because certainly maps have gotten better over the years, but the innovation of maps. You know, like siege tanks, I guess, were the first. You got to be careful about their range, right? But definitely more impactful would have been the force field. You don't have any like tiny chokes or bridges really. Even still in Legacy of the Void, where force fields are a little easier to deal with. And then yeah, you have Liberators, which, I mean, I feel that's the only reason Invader has those cliffs, right? Stop him from doing anything. So King Sejong just might straight up not be well suited. But if you're going to bring back a map, I really feel like they did some testing for that. Like, I really hope they did. It was the most obvious problem to bringing back old maps. So maybe it's not as bad as you're thinking.
I mean, the Cybet Race Wars thing, we got a preview for things, but a lot of those games get kind of cheesed out. We didn't really get to see in-depth looks at them. I do want to point out, though, and this is a bit of self-advertisement to another tournament we're running in the next week, the Team Liquid Map Test Tournament, where we're going to be testing all the new potential ladder maps. There's like 15 going to be selected by the Team Liquid Map Contest 7, and we're going to be running a whole tournament based on those maps. Blizzard's giving us $4,000 to do it. Shout out to Blizzard. What's up? But I love the idea of actually testing the maps, because it's like, what, 2 seasons now back-to-back, plus the beta, so 3 seasons technically, where we've just had maps thrown at us, and they were not good. They were literally like the most complained about ladder seasons in, I feel, the history since the Dream Pool.
Mm-hmm. I like the Dream Pool, having never played on it. I'm only casting on it. But yeah, it'll be fun to look and see, I guess, what happens. I mean, I know some of the map makers already have like talked about their maps, but I feel like I haven't heard much about it. Just the judges, I feel like, are revealing themselves. I know like Apex was complaining he doesn't know who's the judge and who's not. He's afraid to show people his maps.
I know. Actually, it's funny because you do have people who genuinely don't want to create a bias by getting too friendly with the people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Apex, he's trying to be very good about it. Like he thought I was a judge. I was like, no, dude, we're just organizing the tournament. I don't get any say in the maps whatsoever. So the second I told him, he's like, oh, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? But I'm looking forward to it. Now, Scarlett's going pretty queen heavy, by the way. I just want to bring that up real quick. This is really great for early game defense. I love seeing 5 queens in play. Especially if you're worried about any sort of aggression, but on a map like Runes of Endion, plus a player like Scarlett, the creep potential here is just fantastic. And ooh, gonna deny that Reaper from scouting too. Very nicely done. Yeah,
pretty nice. The Reaper didn't have much more to scout. It saw the third base. And it would have been nice to see that they're still in a Roach Warren, it's on a Baneling Nest, it's not like a quick lair or anything like that, but this medevac drop should be able to scout that, so it's not entirely blind.
One of the things I think it's really not super important, but nice that she was able to deny was the Reaper came in initially and only saw like the 1 gas, right? No, he actually saw no gas. He saw nothing in the main. So he actually has no idea how many gases Scarlett's playing off of. Like, yeah, it's 3 bases, but she wouldn't really gas light on this. Like, again, heavier emphasis on the queens, spore crawlers coming down early. She's playing this pretty defensive game, so this attack may not work out the way he wants it to.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I mean, but the thing is that it's going to be able to be picked up. Unless his entire intention was to break down the rocks, then great, then job well done.
I feel like this is what you do when you're losing the game. You're like, my only goal this game was to kill your planetary anyways, whatever. Like,
well, with the tank, it does mean that, like, I mean, this is more than just like, okay, I want to stop you from attacking. This is going to be, yeah, go over here, a couple of free lings potentially if they try and engage, and then siege up a tank. It's only 1 tank, but it's annoying enough to really be taken seriously. This is going to do very much.
More queens on the way, by the way. She's really going to be relying on this for her defense. Awkward.
It's also her really only anti-air, like making sure to snipe the medevacs so the thing continues to move forward. She's taking it seriously. There's not much she can really do besides wait till the rocks are broken down, because of course you break down those rocks, which I guess she's actually not too worried about, or attack with the queens. And once they have transfuses, they can actually take quite a couple of punches. So she drones. It's not that worrisome. She finally gets her lair, which that might have been late actually. She's banking quite a few minerals and a bit of gas.
I mean, the mineral part, yeah. So I think she started investing in more queens. It's better queens take hits than drones. But the layer was questionable because, again, like she played really gas light for the start of this game. One geyser for the longest time. So it kind of makes sense that she wasn't looking towards getting the fastest mutas or anything like that. Still, this is going to be quite annoying. She is out of transfuses now. She's got like 1 or 2 holstered, but most of these queens are pretty low. She doesn't have to completely stop mining, but not mining with everything is probably a smarter choice. Still mine about half that mineral patch, I think, safely.
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting that she didn't go for a fast layer, by the way, just in general, whether that was like a 2-base layer or even just 3-base, layer before Inspire before those upgrades, because it is Runes of Endion, and drops usually are like, they're pretty obvious answer, right, as you're close by air. And of course, this might have also been helped by mutas, but it almost feels like her build isn't exactly like the cleanest. She has 2 macro hatcheries, which feels...
Not only that, like she's got spore crawlers, like crazy defensive setup here in the main. Like this is really odd to look at, not just because of the macro hatcheries. I mean that's certainly interesting in and of itself, but I think a big part of this, I was going to say, was because she had to pull like all her queens away, but she's actually got queens injecting behind this on top of this. So I am really curious what her plans are with those extra hatcheries. Once upon a when, she would do these trolley builds, Mass Queen, Mass Infestor, sure, but that was like Protoss, and that was Heart of the Swarm. That wasn't now in Legacy of the Void. She's
just banking too many. Like, she didn't make a lot of... She made enough drones very quickly, actually, because she, figured this wasn't going to do a lot of damage. So she was at like 68 drones for quite a bit. Now 70, I guess, again. But she wasn't making lings, so she never broke down the rock, so she could never take a 4th base, which I think that second macro hatchery should have been a 4th base. And it really did feel like her lair was maybe a little bit late. Like that Spire, because I was like, okay, maybe she's not going to Spire at all. Like we have seen like in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, like 2/2 Baneling all-ins, but then she also didn't have a Baneling Nest and Baneling Speed. So I was like a little confused about it, and it's still not like a bad game at all, but it felt a little bit odd.
I love the way she's been handling this harass in the north. It's finally gonna break as these queens start going down, but the rocks also finally break so she can push this back.
Finally.
But like she's been systematically targeting the Marines on the high ground, providing vision, focusing on the medevacs because they're the real threat here, not the tank. But while she does all this up here, a drop does manage to get in towards the south. And again, you got 2 spore crawlers. This shouldn't have ideally happened too easily. Widow Mines pop off on not too much, so it wasn't even that bad. Picks up, gets out of there, but doesn't touch the drones, so I'm not sure how much damage was really done here. Because for Scarlett, again, like, okay, she's had little bits of mining denied here and there. You know what? That's right. We got a graph mod. We can actually look and see that Salvation has done a pretty decent amount of damage, economically speaking, but her army has been like untouched. Like, it's a large army supply. Lots of mutas are on the way.
She used most of her bank to unsupply block with 11 overlords.
Whatever gets the job done, man.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if we certainly see times where you just make like a bunch of overlords and get that supply cap, but it looks funny. So she was supply blocked. That's why initially like it wasn't automatically 13 mutas, but now it is 13 mutas. That'll certainly be helpful. Her upgrades are finishing with Fortes.
Well, hold up. I'm actually worried with so many mutas. I mean, she didn't make many banelings, and there's so many Widow Mines in play.
Wow, 7 more mutas as opposed to more banelings. Yeah, that's a good point. With almost 20 mutas, you can of course snipe Widow Mines, which is gonna be helpful, and you can snipe medevacs as well.
This is gonna be a hard position to get that harass play in. Like he's pushing now. He doesn't have time to dance around and pick off like one Widow Mine at a time, slowly and systematically. Running in from the north side, these banelings can get some pretty decent connects, but I'm not sure if that was good enough. Widow Mine's gonna mutilate the Mutalisk. So many get away with barely 1 health remaining. She can't fight with them. They need to stay out of combat to regenerate that health, but she can't take time to get an AFK. She's got to fight another wave of Marines.
And oh my god, the mutas are so low now, they actually can't help out that much. But actually, most of them are surviving. I don't know a bit of damage, but no, never mind. I spoke too soon. There we go.
You did. You absolutely did. But the Zerglings and the Banelings didn't take a bad fight. At the end of the day, though, Scarlett doesn't have the supply to keep up with this, and that rally of Marines is too much. Good game. Forte, a.k.a. Salvation, is going to be the one to advance on to fight against Billowy. Now, of course, don't feel too bad for Scarlett, guys. There is another Korean qualifier, and she's totally welcome to come back and play in that next week. So she is sadly going to be out of it for this one, however. Congratulations to Forte, though. He does advance on in the brackets. Top half of the brackets, nothing really changing. Sleep waiting in the qualifying match up there. So Zerg versus something. The next match we cast is going to be Billowy versus Forte. That's TVP. This will also lead into a qualifying match for the winner of this next series. So we'll play some ads from the sponsors really quick, guys. This is from TING. This one we'll talk about coverage this time. I can state that at least from Houston to Sugarland to Austin, I can verify Ting is pretty good coverage in. But anyways, word from these sponsors, and we'll be back in a few minutes once map vetoes are ideally finished up.